Want to grow your business? Here's a hint. It's not about where you're putting your ads. If you want real results, you need to focus on building trust. And in the world of digital marketing, there's no better way to do that than through a killer podcast. Let me explain. Hey, I'm the founder of a digital marketing agency and author of a best-selling book on podcasting for business. Look, I've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, and I can tell you firsthand that traditional advertising is dead. Sure, it might work every now and then, but if you really want to connect with your audience, you need to build trust. And that's where podcasting comes in. A great podcast is like having a conversation with an old friend. It's intimate, it's authentic, and it builds trust. And when your audience trusts you, they're more likely to buy from you, recommend you to their friends, and become lifelong fans of your brand. Now I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, I don't have time to start a podcast. Or maybe you're thinking, I don't know anything about podcasting. Well, guess what? That's exactly why you're watching this video. Because I'm here to tell you that anyone can start a podcast, and I'm gonna show you how. Let me ask you something. Have you ever thought about your target audience? What are their interests? What are their pain points? How do they like to consume content? Well, if you haven't thought about these things, you need to start thinking about them right now. Because the first step to creating a great podcast is understanding who you're talking to. This is called your target listener. And when you know who your target listener is, you can tailor your podcast to their interests, which will keep them engaged and coming back for more. Now, let's talk about the format of your podcast. Are you going to go with a solo show where you talk about your expertise? Or are you going to interview other people in your industry? Or maybe you want to do a co-hosted show with a partner. There's no right answer here. It all depends on your goals and your personality. But one thing I will say is that it's important to keep your episodes relatively short. I'd recommend aiming for around 20 to 30 minutes. That way you won't lose the attention of your listeners. Next, let's talk about the topic of your podcast. What are you going to talk about on your show? Well, this should be something that you're passionate about and knowledgeable in. After all, you want to be able to provide value to your listeners, right? But also think about what problems your target listener is facing. Can you help them with those problems on your show? By providing valuable information, you'll establish yourself as an expert in your field and build trust with your audience. Now let's talk about the most important part of your podcast, the call to action. What do you want your listeners to do after they hear your show? Do you want them to visit your website? You want them to sign up for your email list? Maybe you want them to buy your product? Whatever your goal is, make sure you include a clear call to action in every episode. That way your listeners know exactly what to do next. Finally, let's talk about the technical aspects of your podcast. You don't need expensive equipment to get started. Good at decent microphone and some basic editing software will do the trick. And once you've recorded your episodes, you'll need to publish them on a podcast hosting platform. This will allow you to distribute your podcast to various platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Now look, I know all this might seem overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. That's why I created a free guide to help you start your podcasting journey. In this guide, I'll walk you through everything you need to know, from choosing a name for your podcast to recording your first episode. So what are you waiting for? Click the link below to download my free guide and start your podcast today. And remember, the most successful podcasters didn't become successful overnight. It takes time and consistency to build a great podcast. But if you stick with it, you'll eventually see results. So don't get discouraged and keep producing great content. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy podcasting.